Good day, I'm Andrea Mitchell in Washington. It's good to be back with all of you. U.S. officials now confirmed to NBC News that the U.S. is flying manned surveillance flights, probably U-2 planes, over Nigeria at the request of that country's government. This comes only a day after Boko Haram, the terrorist group holding the 267 kidnapped schoolgirls, released video of some of the captured girls at an unknown location. The terror group also issued a video message, a chilling message, demanding the release of their own militants in exchange for the girls. NBC's Stephanie Gosk filed this report from the capital of Cameroon, bordering that remote region of Nigeria.
Andrea, the parents of these schoolgirls are getting their first opportunity now to pore over this video and search for their children agonizingly. We spoke to a father in the capital of Nigeria, in Abuja. He looked at the video. He recognized two of the schoolgirls, but he didn't actually see his daughter. And even if he did, it only provides a slight comfort. They are still in the hands of Boko Haram, and the leader of that group says that they will not be released until prisoners, Boko Haram prisoners, are released from prisons all around Nigeria. We are also getting some interesting information here in Cameroon from the military, and this gives you an idea of just how well armed this group Boko Haram is. About a week after the girls were kidnapped, the Cameroon military seized up in the north, the extreme north of this country, quite a large cache of weapons. It includes a number of AK-47s, RPGs, anti-aircraft guns. What they said was that it was enough arms really to probably arm a group of hundreds of fighters. A really incredible stash that gives you an idea of just how powerful the group is in this region. It also tells you how easily they are moving across borders into Niger, into Cameroon, and into Chad. Andrea, back to you.
Stephanie Gosk reporting from Cameroon. Boko Haram is, as you say, well-armed, well-coordinated militant group. Michael Leiter is an MSNBC terror analyst, the former director of the National Counterterrorism Center, with years of experience tracking this group. Michael, first of all, Boko Haram, heavily armed, able to move across borders. What we saw on that video, the proof-of-life video, if you will, which we've now seen for about 24 hours, is a large group of girls, not all of the girls. What does that tell the people who now have the job you used to have in terms of our ability to track them down?
This is a very tough challenge, Andrea. The good news from that video is that a large group of those women are still together. There was the possibility that they had been broken up into very small groups of 5 or 6 and scattered, and that would really make any sort of large-scale rescue operation impossible. Now that you know you've got one relatively large group of 100 plus, that's really positive. It gives you some potential. But as these resources are moving into Nigeria, flying overhead, satellite, and people on the ground to help analyze that intelligence, you still have a pretty daunting task. This is a remote area, difficult to get to. You have to find them, and then potentially you have to get there, and you have to do it without having the hostages harmed.
Now, we've known for some time that there had been at least a 2-hour warning that the marauders were approaching the town where the school was, and there was no help from police or other military in the area. What about payoffs and corruption and relationships between these terrorists and different factions within the country itself?
Well, there's a tremendous degree of corruption within Nigeria on really all fronts, not just security. I think the bigger problem in this case is the Nigerian government, both the federal government and the more local officials, really don't have a significant presence exactly where Boko Haram is the greatest threat. So even if the military had 2 hours of warning, their ability to actually get there and protect against very well-armed Boko Haram forces who probably outnumber the government forces would be really minimal. And again, this has been an ongoing problem for the government in Abuja. How do you get and keep military forces in this area in a way that they can both protect the population and, frankly, that they don't alienate much of the population using very, very heavy-handed tactics, which have resulted in some very serious human rights violations in the past, thus further complicating U.S. cooperation.
And there's even a report that President Obama, in his conversation with Goodluck Jonathan, raised the human rights abuse issue, thereby even more offending this completely I don't know, discredited president of the country that waited 3 weeks to even begin to talk to, not until John Kerry called him last week did he even agree that they might welcome support, but it took days more to try to get them to accept the support, so that the FBI and military teams didn't even know what to send and what to do. What about negotiating? Behind the scenes, there have to be conversations going on now that we've seen these demands made for the release.
I think there probably are quiet conversations going on behind the scenes. That happens in almost every one of these controversies and hostage situations. But frankly, a really large-scale exchange of hostages, I think, is very unlikely, because what that really does is show weakness for the president of Nigeria. It starts to elevate Boko Haram. So I don't think that's the most likely outcome. I think the silver lining we have so far is that Nigeria is accepting help. And this isn't just a sort of we're soft on terrorism, that we have to worry about the human rights issues there. These are real legal limits on what the U.S. government can do thanks to something called the Leahy Amendment. So that we are getting past that we're providing assistance to properly vetted parts of the Nigerian security organization will help. And the more intelligence they have, the more understanding they have of the situation, the more it allows them to actually engage Boko Haram without negotiating in a way which elevates them but continues to suppress a threat which has been going on for some time, despite the lack of a lot of Western attention to the problem.
And Pat Leahy's amendment on the human rights issue was to not having us give military aid to regimes that have human rights abuses for the obvious reasons. Quick question about the alleged delay in designating Boko Haram as a terror group. This is being used to try to go after Hillary Clinton's record as Secretary of State, where individuals were designated but not the group itself. The pushback from the Bush-era ambassador there was that this was not done to avoid elevating and giving them more celebrity and giving them what they wanted, more oxygen, more publicity. But your take, you may have been part of that debate. I'm not sure.
I wasn't part of the final discussion. The bottom line is that the State Department traditionally has been more dovish, and not just Hillary Clinton's State Department, all State Departments have been more dovish about designating groups, terrorist organizations. But designating the actual organization is really not the key part to countering the threat and attacking them at the source. So in my view, yes, the State Department was more dovish. Did that have any significant effect on the fight against Boko Haram? In my view, no. And the State Department had legitimate concerns about elevating them globally to a part of al-Qaeda, to a global terrorist organization. I frankly think they should have been designated earlier, but do I think the delay had a serious consequence in this event or the path of Boko Haram? I really don't.
Michael Leiter, thanks so much for your perspective.